Welcome to another episode of From the AV to SCV. Today I figured I'm driving down Bokeh Canyon Road. I'm sorry, not Bokeh Canyon Road, Soledad Canyon Road. And pretty much it drew memories of my cars. And the one car that always comes to mind and heart is my 1985 Toyota Supra. I had it. That was my first car. So when I was like 17, that was the car that took me to school. Would take me to whatever part-time job I had, and eventually took me to CSUN and all that good stuff. And this road was always my go-to route to get back home in that Supra. Again, it was a 1985 Toyota Supra. It had the 2.8 liter inline 6 5M GE engine. The first year when I had it, it was an automatic. Eventually I converted it into a 5-speed manual transmission. It had a sunroof, the power headlights, retractable. They popped up, they popped down. OEM fog lights. Of course, it was a rear-wheel drive vehicle as well. On the liftgate, when I originally had it, it came with a sunshade, and it encompassed about a third of the liftgate. Then I'd go out to the junkyard, and there'd be some Supras there, and I ended up getting this one. I guess technically they say it's a two-piece because it has a sunshade on top, and then the spoiler runs along the whole liftgate, and then at the very end, it has the spoiler lit. I always thought it was a one-piece, well, because it came in literally one piece. It was one solid piece, and you bolted it onto the liftgate, and you were set. So I had those two interchangeable parts, and at its given time, I would swap them out. And so driving today, it's cloudy, it's in June, essentially June, well, it's June 30th. But this was always my go-to road, and man, I love this road. Oh, and it's I guess it's kind of raining, so well, keep on rolling with the specs on the car. It had the 14-inch by 7-inch rims. There were the performance tires, that iconic Supra rims for the 85 models, Mark IIs. It had a long nose and a really short butt. Again, it was a hatchback, so obviously, it was, I guess you can consider it a 2+2, because you had your two seats in the front, seats in the back. Who would you really put back there? I don't know. They weren't the spacious cars when it comes to passengers sitting in the back, but you had them nonetheless. So had that going. My vehicle, my Supra, had reached 379,000 miles. Drove it, and the first time the engine blew out, rebuilt it, slapped it back in, and then it crapped out again. So there was that. Come to find out, according to other Supra owners as well, the tolerances for that engine when it's getting rebuilt are very minimal, like extremely minimal. And from what this one guy was telling me, what he learned was that his Supra did the same thing, blew out, he got it rebuilt, and it was running fine. But the thing is, I guess the engine tends to run at a high temperature as it is. And so with that, if the tolerances, or when whoever was rebuilding the engine was off, the car would essentially overheat, and that's why it would crap out. So he told me was a lot of the time, and what he ended up doing as well at the time was he got the 7MG engine on there. And, you know, he said he had to modify stuff, but it was an engine that was workable. If something crapped out, he'd get it rebuilt and it would be working fine. You know, that was coming from another Supra owner, so that's what he said. My car, yeah, it reached 379,000 miles, you know, and I have a picture of it. I even made a website for my car. It was at cardomain.com, and the title for it was TSMK2, obviously Toyota Supra Mark II. But I called it Red X. You know, I put a dash, Red X. Teen Titans was a hot thing at the time, so I thought it was, you know, it suited the car well. And, you know, I had some minor stuff done to it. I had striping on it that ran kind of like a rally style. It was black, silver, black, so that was the two stripes that I had running from the nose all the way to the back. I had an aftermarket cheap muffler, and I say cheap because I guess I could have spent more money on an actual branded muffler, but at the time, you know, it was expensive as it was. I paid $120, and it was for a muffler called DNX or DNR, something like that. But it was from this tuner muffler shop, so there was that. Or, you know, the alteration from automatic to stick really woke up the car, and this road was so much fun. You know, I just zipped through it. I'm not saying I was drifting around this road, but, you know, the car was planted. It had nice downforce to it, so the grip was always there. Not to mention the fat tires that it had. So I pointed the car and it would just go to it. So that was my first car, and boy did I love it, and it was so much fun and memories. One of the other things though, I might as well touch base. I'll just make a list of the cars that I had after it. I had a 1982 a Toyota Celica-Supra. I thought it was just a Celica, but I guess not. It was a Celica-Supra, and the reason it was called a Celica-Supra is because it had also the 5MG E engine, but it had a lower rating because of some vacuum lines and intake system that it had, so it had lower power. But the chassis essentially was like the 85, the pop-up headlights. The taillights were different, but again, it didn't have that 22R E engine, which is a 4-cylinder, and those would give you the option, I guess, you know, for whoever was buying it, to have automatic or a manual transmission. Because mine was the 5MGE engine, the Inline 6, it came as an automatic. And for that one, I didn't alter it. I just kept it the way it was. And of course, it also had the flares as well, the fender flares, the sunshade in the back, and the steering wheel was different compared from the 85. The 85 had its little square, you know, steering wheel with the little pillars on the bottom, and you know, it said Supra on it. On the Celica, it was how do I put it? It was like the steering wheel had a V shape as far as where the horns laid, and I'll post a picture of, you know, of a Celica steering wheel so you can see what I'm talking about, and then I'll put one of the Supra. But again, the Supra had its square and then the pillars on the bottom. The Celica just had like a V shape style to it, and the horns there were 2 buttons and they were integrated to the side pillars. So you had that going. The interior was different as well. The seats were different, just different design. But it also had a sunroof, the fully retractable headlights, and the fog lights. After that one, I had a 1987 Toyota Supra Target Top, as I call it, because that's what I knew it was called. Essentially what it meant was, on the roof, the whole panel would just pop off, and you could store it in the trunk and, you know, drive with the top off. But it wasn't like a convertible. It was just the centerpiece would pop off. Also retractable headlights. It had a 7 MGE engine. It was a non-turbo, also automatic. But one of the things with that car, it was sluggish. Yeah, it was slow, but, you know, still fun nonetheless. And then that one, the interior was brown and the color was brown. So naturally I called it Mr. Brown. And for the 82 Celica, it was blue. I got it painted silver and the interior remained blue. So that was really cool. It was a really good setup, and it also had the Supra tires. So that was also interesting for that Celica-Supra. Then I had the 87 Supra, which I just talked about after that. But yeah, so that brings me to a question for you guys. What was your first car? You know, I'd love to see what people's first cars were, trucks, or if you had a motorcycle as a first vehicle or mode of transportation. Cool. So yeah, thanks for tuning in on this episode of From the AV to SCV. I'm Bandit the Commuter, and catch you guys later. See ya.